Well, welcome everybody to the Citizen Advisory Group for Community Development and Housing. My name is Becky McCrary. I'm the Housing and Community Development Program Manager, and we're here tonight to conduct an open publics meeting, and this is our first time at doing it virtually. So I'll just start out. I'll just start out by just doing a little bit of housekeeping for you. So for participants, it's very helpful if you stay muted. That way we don't have any background noise, and there are many people on the phone, so that would be very helpful. You may submit comments during the meeting up to 30 minutes after we've started, so we've got a little bit of a late start, but we would like you to email those into K Landry, that's KLANDRY @everettwa.gov, and then once we open the public hearing, we will read those, or at least summarize those in the public hearing portion of the meeting. Also, should the broadcast stop, please use the call number on the agenda, and we want you to know that this will be rebroadcast on the Everett channel and available on our web pages. The other thing we'd like everyone to know is after the committee's meeting and recommendation tonight, there will be an additional 5-day comment period before it goes to City Council. So with that, I will turn it over to Chair Charles Adkins.
Hi all, this is Charles Adkins, chair of this little committee. So what we're going to do first is we're just going to do a roll call of all of our committee members. So I will start that. Charles Atkins, here. Vicky Dorway.
Here.
Greg Campbell.
Here.
Sue Johnson.
Here.
Demba Baldet. Weren't they on the call earlier?
Here, Charlie. I'm here.
Okay.
Sorry, I was on mute.
Mary Rollins.
Here.
Ben Breeden.
Here.
Samantha Hassan.
Here.
Hassan.
It's Hassan, and I'm here.
Susan Bernard Mosshart.
Here.
Larissa Knott.
Here.
Kathy Lynott.
I don't believe she's here.
Okay. Kathy Lynott. Okay. Next is just kind of going over the committee procedures. So throughout this process at today's meeting, I will just be calling on each committee member when we're doing discussion as well as voting. Especially during voting, I will be just doing a roll call vote I will say your name and you will say yes or no, or aye or nay, whatever way you would like to signify that you are voting yes or no. In addition, during the presentations, we will not be having questions or discussion until after the presentation is fully complete. Do we have any questions from our committee members on the process? Okay, hearing no questions, we'll go on to Becky and the needs assessment PowerPoint.
Thank you again, Chair Atkins. So first of all, I wanted to just remind the committee of the approval process for this. We posted the amendment proposals for a 5-day public comment period. Now you are holding your public hearing as required by HUD to receive feedback on those amendment proposals. You will make a recommendation to the city council, and then following your meeting, we will post this again. We will post your recommendation for another 5-day public comment period. So this is going to go to council. It'll get transmitted with your recommendation and with any public comments that we receive. And then the city council will hold their meeting and they will take action on the amendments through a resolution. I thought it would be helpful just to go through a few definitions because we were talking about a couple of different things today. You might all be familiar with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and they are the agency that provides the Community Development Block Grant Funds, which are Community Development Block Grant are one of the largest running programs of the U.S. Department of HUD, and it funds local community development activities such as affordable housing, anti-poverty programs, and infrastructure development. The Consolidated Plan is our Community Development Block Grant 5-year spending plan. So it identifies our needs in the community, our goals and strategies about how we will approach our funding for a 5-year period as we receive annual grants. The annual action plan, which you go through every year, then takes that annual grant allocation and decides on what programs and projects should be funded that year based on the needs of the community, the needs and strategies and goals of the community. Tonight, we're going to be talking about micro enterprises. This is an allowed group of folks to be funded, businesses to be funded under the Community Development Block Grant. Micro businesses are businesses that are 5 or fewer employees, and one of those employees is the owner. And to be eligible for block grant dollars, the owner must be, income must not be greater than 80% of the area median income. We'll also talk about small businesses, and that definition, HUD uses the definition that's used by the Small Business Administration, and it's basically those businesses that aren't chains or large conglomerates, but is really limited to small businesses and types of businesses in a community. And then finally, substantial amendments are amendments that really do change the course or funding of what you have in your plans, either your consolidated plan, your annual action plan, and or your citizen participation plan. So there's, as we all know, and we're hearing it on a daily basis, there's an increased demand and hardship from the COVID-19 crisis, particularly on small businesses and micro enterprises. Eligible assistance under the CDBG program regulations would allow the city to use those funds to help businesses with what we call working capital. That could be business lease or mortgage payments. It could be business utility payments, monthly debt payments, help out with payroll, and things like inventory expenses. On the public service side, it is also eligible for CDBG funding, and there's eligible service activities. And just thinking about, some of the things we do know about how public services are being affected are around food instability, around housing instability, and there are several CDBG eligible service activities that would fall in that category. And just to recall that CDBG funds must benefit low to moderate income residents, and the funding for this, when it goes to an agency, it has to be towards the portion that's caused the hardship or demand related to the COVID-19 pandemic. And public service funding is available to nonprofits. So again, a reminder about the CARES Act and the financial relief. Additional money, Community Development Block Grant money is being awarded to states and entitlement jurisdictions. The purpose of the funds are for prevention, preparation for, and response related to COVID-19. So the set-aside allocation that the City of Everett will receive is $534,000. In addition, HUD is allowing us to use any available funds we have from our 2019 program year. After some projects didn't go through, and we've done some reconciling in our money with HUD, we do have an additional $500 to devote to some financial relief for a total of over $1 million. I wanted to spell out, just for the record, that HUD issued many waivers specific for these funds. It was to allow jurisdictions to move through their process quickly and get the money into the community as fast as possible. So they did reduce our statutory notice of public hearing requirements from 15 days to 5 days. The amendments to the Consolidated Plan and Action Plan for emergencies can use alternative methods of public process, such as what we're doing now. They mainly just want you to do the best you can in your ability to engage with the public. Additionally, currently HUD rules require that they have to approve substantial amendments, and they have waived this requirement. So that will again save time in order for us to get funds out quickly. In a normal year, city is limited to a 15% cap for public service activities. However, they have waived that 15%, and the city could use up to 100% of its available CDBG money for public services. As you might imagine, HUD is coming out with guidance really on a daily basis, and so we continue to believe that we'll get additional guidance from them in the days to come. So now I'm just going to talk a little bit about the specific amendments that we're proposing tonight. We have a citizen participation plan that we have to follow that had all those regulatory timelines, and with the waiver, we will add that to our plan, that in emergencies and when waived by HUD, that we may use the abbreviated public process. Excuse me, and this is for COVID specific. It also allows us the use of virtual public hearings and meetings. In the consolidated plan also has to be amended. This is our 2014 to 2019. As you know, we're in the process of updating our plan for the year 2020 to 2024. So the plan would add a needs assessment specific to COVID about the pandemic and the impacts to the community. And then we must amend the plan to allow for the spending of CDBG dollars for both economic development and disaster relief. That is currently not in our plan. So the annual action plan, there's two programs that we're proposing that the committee consider. One is the Everett Cares Small Business Grant Program. And so I'll just go down what that looks in general in terms of qualifying businesses. So it's the small businesses as defined by HUD. Under that category, a for-profit are only eligible, and they are eligible under economic development activities. They must serve or employ low to moderate income individuals, and they must demonstrate that prior to this, they were a sustainable business. The micro enterprises, as I mentioned, they're 5 or fewer employees, and 1 employee is the owner, earning 80% or less of area median income. That is for profit and nonprofit businesses. Excuse me. So tonight our recommendation is as follows. Approve the Citizen Participation Plan Amendment, approve the Consolidated Plan Amendment, approve the 2019 Annual Action Plan amendments as follows. Adds the new uses for the CDBG COVID funds, and approve funding in the amount of $500,000 in the Annual Action Plan amendment to include the Everett Cares program to be administered by city staff. And further, that determination of COVID-19 priority needs will be determined at the committee meeting on 4/23. Following that meeting, the city will issue a notice of funding availability to nonprofits for public services, excuse me, to address COVID-19 priority needs in the community for $500,000. So we would put this out for applications, which means that we would come back to you with a services application for a funding recommendation, which would also go to the council. So with that, I am open to questions and committee discussion.
Hi, this is Mary. I have a question.
Mary?
Yes.
Charles is going to call on each one of you individually, and then that would be the time that you would come in with your question.
Oh, sorry, I forgot.
That's
Thank
okay.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for this am I able to be heard right now?
Yep.
Okay, so for this process, I'm hoping that just after each one of these presentations, I'm going to go through your name, and if you have anything to say it then. So Vicky Dorway.
No questions or comments at this time.
Greg Campbell.
I'd like to know if the existing priorities that we have, are those still going to be in place? And then in addition, we'll have these new priorities? Or these new, they're really not priorities, but they're
Needs.
needs, yes.
So I can answer that. Becky McCrary. You are still going through your 2020 consolidated plan with new priorities and action plan, and you've already designated the funding for those, so those still stay in place. The CDBG COVID money, though, is specific to the impacts of COVID.
Okay.
For this pot of money.
Okay, good. All right, thank you.
Sue, do you have anything to say?
One quick question. Becky, you said at the 4/23 meeting, we would assess needs and then make funding recommendations after those go out for people to apply. When would we be reconvening to firmly allocate those monies?
That's a great question. We will make it a very quick turnaround because, again, we want to get this money back out to the community. We're looking at more of an abbreviated application process for them. So I would hope to be back to the committee within a couple of weeks.
Okay, so a couple of weeks. Thank you for clarification. That's all.
All right, Demba?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Charles. Becky, I just wanted to find out if applications are already opened to the public for applications. If so, have we received any applications?
No, we have not opened up the application process because we've got to get through these amendments before we can open up our application process. We expect to do that, though, very shortly after council approval, which is currently scheduled for 4/29. That would be next week.
And just one more, so the application will go through the same process, like the same process that we used to go through, right?
For the services,
For the services, okay.
the small business and micro enterprise funds would be its own program, and that program will have a review team that's city staff who would decide on those applications. And
Okay.
we're still developing the details of that.
Thank you. Thank you, Charles.
Mary?
Hi, thank you. Thank you for facilitating this today. Appreciate it. I had the question on sustainability. What in the context of small business, what does that word sustainable mean?
Under HUD guidelines, we have to review whether or not a business was a going concern prior to this crisis occurring. So again, HUD's given us some guidance on that, and we are developing the details, but it's difficult to give businesses that may have already been struggling before this. So it just means we're just going to look at their financial security prior to this crisis.
So, can I have a follow-up question there?
Yeah.
So, let's say this business had just opened, like a brand new business. How would you ascertain their sustainability given that information?
Well, we might be able to do it in another way. Part of our review team will be a financial advisor who has expertise in this. So I'd imagine that it might be difficult to evaluate a business that hasn't been in business for long. So it would take a lot more analysis and investigation on that type of a scenario.
Okay, thank you so much.
Ben?
I have no questions or comments at this time. Thank you.
Samantha?
No questions or comments. Thank you.
Susan?
No questions or comments. Thank you.
Larissa?
No questions or comments.
Kathy?
She's not participating.
Oh, yeah. Excuse me for that one. All right. Well, with that, we will move on to.
Did you get some?
What?
Did you get Samantha?
Samantha, did I get you?
You got me, and I had
Okay.
no comments. Thank you, though.
I'm sorry, I thought I missed that.
It's okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. With that, we'll move on to the next part. Becky?
So what we would be doing now, because I've covered the agenda item up to 6, and you guys have done your discussion number 7. So this would be number 8, opening the public hearing.
All right. So I need a motion and a second to open public hearing. Do I hear a motion?
Mary Rollins, I'll motion to open the meeting for public hearing.
Susan
Do I hear a
Mosshart,
second?
second that.
All right. The motion has been moved and seconded. Okay. So I am now opening up the vote on the public hearing. Okay. Larissa?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes. Yes.
Samantha?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Demba?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Vicky?
Yes.
And I, Charles Atkins, vote yes. The public hearing is now open. Will staff please read any written public comment into the record?
Yes, so hi, this is Kimber Landry. I'm a Community Development Specialist with the City of Everett. As of right now, we have received 4 public comments. Most of the public comments are in regards to community needs and priorities, and they are not directly related to the amendments that have been proposed. However, I'm going to go ahead and just state them for the record. And then these comments can also be considered for our upcoming meeting on the 23rd as well. We received 2 comments, one from a private individual and one from an organization, both outside of City of Everett limits. And one focused specifically on housing vouchers, and the second one focused on housing vouchers and then housing for the for disabled persons. So those both of those comments came in, and then we did receive 2 comments from organizations, subrecipients that have already received CDBG funding from us in prior years, that are within the City of Everett limits, that do specifically target City of Everett residents for aid. And the first one is from the Snohomish County Legal Services, and they wanted to promote the need of free legal aid and needing operational assistance at this time. They're going to receive a increased amount of service demand. They've already seen a increase from the crisis as it is now, and as they serve a diverse population of low-income individuals and households, as well as victims of domestic crimes, and then helping to provide free aid between renters and tenants. They also have aspects that focus on housing as well. So they wanted to give a comment on that. And then we received one other additional comment from Hand in Hand. And they provided a report of an increased need of financial assistance, direct financial assistance payments that they utilize with their community members in need to help with gaps in payments, for example, such as utility or rental assistance. They have not only continued to see a need in the community based on what it is they do on a day-to-day basis, but then have also seen and expected a significant increase in need in response to COVID-19. So just to summarize again, 2 entities outside the City of Everett limits, focusing on housing vouchers and housing for disabled persons, and then 2 entities within the City of Everett limits, focusing on free legal aid and operating assistance, as well as direct financial housing assistance. And at that time, these are the only public comments received. So thank you.
Thank you to staff for reading public comment. So the next thing we need to do is we need to close public comment. I do need a motion and a second for that to happen.
Then
Do I hear a motion?
I move a motion to close the public hearing.
All right. Do I have a second?
I have a question. This is Mary Rollins.
Yes.
So there's nobody on the line that's from the public right now that has a question?
Would Becky or Kimbra like to answer that?
Becky, you're muted.
We set this up ahead of time as an email comment only. So we open this up for the first 30 minutes of this meeting. Folks could still email in to Canberra with any written comments.
Okay.
We aren't taking the verbal comments.
Okay, thank you.
All right. There is a motion on the floor. I do need a second for it.
I'll second. Mary Rollins, I'll second.
All right. The motion has been moved and seconded. I will now do a roll call vote on the closing the public hearing. Larissa?
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Samantha,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Demba,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Vicky,
Yes.
and I, Charles Adkins, vote yes. All right, the public hearing has now been closed. We will now move on to the committee response to virtual participant comments. So during this, I'm just going to call on each individual committee member if you have any further questions or comments on the public hearing. Vicky, do you have anything?
No, I do not.
Greg?
I'm anxious. I'm interested to see the written applications from these two participants and to also see how many other people are going to apply, even though they haven't given us any comments.
And Sue?
I have no direct response to that. However, one leftover question: how long after you close the bidding process for funds before the funds are allocated?
As I said, we're looking at trying to an abbreviated process for that, and that's sort of some of the guidance we hope will come from HUD. But again, once council approves a funding recommendation, then as quick as we can turn around grant agreements and get folks signed and get the money out to them. So we hope it's less than a month.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. No further questions.
Thank you, Sue. Demba?
Yes, Becky, you mentioned that you're going to have an abbreviated version of the applications. Can you share a copy of that with us?
We can do that, yeah.
You can do that. Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Any further questions or comments, Demba?
No further comments or questions. Thank you.
All right. Mary?
No, I don't have any comments or questions at this time. Thank you.
Ben?
No questions or comments, thanks.
Samantha?
No questions or comments. Thank you.
Susan?
My question is, do we typically fund out of the city of Everett?
Can you say that again?
Do we typically fund monies or companies outside of the city of Everett?
No, CDBG money is only eligible for inside the city limits.
Okay, no further questions. Thank you.
Larissa?
No questions or comments.
All right. So with that, unless there's any other questions or comments that anyone has, going once, going twice, going thrice. All right. We are now going to move on to committee action. I do need a motion and a second for each of these items. The citizen participation plan, the amendment for the 2014-2019 consolidated plan, and a motion and a second needed for the annual action plan for the Everett Cares program. We will start with the citizen participation plan. Do I hear a motion for that?
Sue Johnson, I move that the citizen participation plan amendment as written be carried.
Do I have a second?
Susan Mosshart, I second that.
Motion has been made and seconded. I will now do a roll call vote. Larissa Knopp,
Yes.
Susan Bernard Mosshart,
Yes.
Samantha Hassan,
Yes.
Ben Breeden,
Yes.
Mary Rollins,
Yes.
Dimba Balde,
Yes.
Sue Johnson,
Yes.
Greg Campbell,
Yes.
Vicky Dorway,
Yes.
and I, Charles Adkins, vote yes. All right. I now need a motion and a second for the 2014-2019 Consolidated Plan Amendment.
Sue Johnson, I move that the 2019 Consolidated Plan Amendment be passed as written.
Mary Rollins, I'll second.
All right. I will now proceed to a roll call vote for the 2014-2019 Consolidated Plan Amendment. Larissa Knott,
Yes.
Susan Bernard Mosshart,
Yes.
Samantha Hassan,
Yes.
Ben Breeden,
Yes.
Mary Rollins,
Yes.
Demba Balde,
Yes.
Sue Johnson,
Yes.
Greg Campbell,
Yes.
Vicky Dorway,
Yes.
and I, Charles Adkins, vote yes. I now need a motion and a second for the 2019 Annual Action Plan Amendment.
Sue Johnson, I move that the annual action plan to add the Everett Cares program be passed as written.
Thank you,
I
Sue,
second
for
that.
motioning all of this. And that was Ben, but just seconded?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Sue and Ben, for motioning and seconding. The motion has been moved and seconded. So I will now proceed with a roll call vote on the 2019 Annual Action Plan Amendment. Larissa Knott,
Yes.
Susan Bernard Mosshart,
Yes.
Samantha Hassan.
Yes.
Also, is it Hassan or Hassan?
It's Hassan.
Hassan. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It happens.
Ben Breeden,
Yes.
Mary Rollins,
Yes.
Demba Balde,
Yes.
Sue Johnson,
Yes.
Greg Campbell,
Yes.
Vicky Dorway,
Yes.
and I, Charles Adkins, vote yes. All right. We did it, guys. So with that, with your vote, you have voted to move the Citizen Participation Plan Amendment, the 2014-2019 Consolidated Plan Amendment, and the Annual Action Plan, and to add the Everett Cares Program. You have, with your vote, moved all three, and the City Council will now review them. And now, Becky, would you like to share about the committee recommendation comment period?
Yeah, I mentioned this at the beginning of the meeting, but your recommendation will now be posted, so the public will have an additional 5 days to provide comment on your recommendation. And then, of course, we have more work to do on Thursday, but now we're experienced, and there's a little more things that we need to do at that meeting. But I thank you, committee members, for your participation.
All right. And now we somehow have gone to the adjournment part of the meeting at only 15 minutes.
May I say something?
Yes. Please state your name.
Greg Campbell. Okay, it's the 23rd, Becky?
Correct.
At 4? Okay.
Thursday.
Right, got it. Thank you.
All right. Is there any further Also, please mute yourself if you are not actively speaking. Is there
Mary-
any further question or comment?
No, Mary Rollins, I was just going to move to adjourn.
All right. Mary Rollins has motioned for adjournment. Do I have a second?
I second it, Greg Campbell.
All right. Now I will just do a roll call vote for the adjournment. Larissa Knopp,
Yes.
Susan Bernard Mossart,
Yes.
Samantha Hassan,
Yes.
Ben Breeden,
Yes.
Mary Rollins,
Yes.
Demba Balde,
Yes.
Sue Johnson,
Yes.
Greg Campbell,
Yes.
Vicky Doorway,
Yes.
and I, Charles Adkins, do vote yes for adjournment. And with that, we're adjourned. Thank you all for coming and taking the time out of your day for this emergency meeting.
Nice job, Charles. This is